All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to tackle a question that pretty much every engineer faces. How do you get new code out into the world on AWS without everything catching on fire? We're going to break down the two heavyweights in this space, blue, green, and canary deployments, so you know exactly which one to pick for your next project. I mean, this is the million-dollar question, right? You've been there. That feeling in your stomach when you're about to hit the deploy button, just hoping nothing goes wrong. The goal isn't just shipping cool new features. It's doing it with absolutely zero downtime and keeping your users happy. So how do we actually pull that off?
Well, it really boils down to two big ideas. On one hand, you've got the instant switch, which is the whole philosophy behind blue-green. Think of it like flipping a giant light switch. It's all on or all off. On the other hand, you have the gradual rollout, which is the canary approach. This is more like slowly turning up a dimmer dial. Let's dig into that first one.
So first step, blue, green. This is the all-or-nothing approach. The entire game here is about preparation and creating a safety net through total isolation. Here's the deal with blue-green. You basically have two carbon copy production environments completely separate from each other. We call one blue, that's what your users are on right now, the stable live version. At the same time, you spin up a whole new identical environment called green, and that's where your new code goes. The key here is that green gets zero real traffic until you've tested it and you're 100% confident it works.
And the process is actually pretty straightforward. First, you push your new code to the green environment, totally away from your users. Then you hammer it with tests, integration tests, health checks, maybe even have your QA team poke around. Once you give it the thumbs up, you just tell your load balancer, hey, stop sending traffic to blue and send all of it to green. And this is the really important part. You don't just delete blue. You keep it running on standby, ready to go. If anything looks weird on green, one click and you're instantly back on blue.
Now, in the real world on AWS, this looks a little different depending on what you're running on. If you're on old-school EC2 instances, you'll probably have two separate autoscaling groups. The big switch happens at the application load balancer, when you just tell it to point to a new target group. But if you're in the Kubernetes world, on EKS, you'd have two separate Kubernetes deployments, and you'd make that switch by changing a service selector or an ingress rule. Same idea, just a different tool for the job.
So if you're ever asked about this, this is your go-to answer for EKS. It's all about having two completely separate deployments and then just toggling the traffic between them using Kubernetes' own networking rules. It's short, sweet, and shows you get how it works in practice. All right, so that's blue-green. Now let's switch gears and talk about the other side of the coin, the canary test. This isn't about one big switch. It's about being cautious, gradual, and letting data guide your decisions. The whole idea with a canary release is to send your new code to just a tiny, tiny fraction of your users at first. This is amazing because you get to see how your code behaves with real production traffic, with real users clicking around, but you do it in a super controlled way. The main goal is to keep the blast radius as small as possible. If something's broken, it only affects a handful of people, not everyone. So picture this. You've got all your traffic flowing. The vast majority of people, let's say 90%, are still happily using the old, stable version of your app. But then you carve off a small slice, maybe just 10% of your traffic, and you route those users to your new canary version. They become your real-world testers, your canaries in the coal mines, so to speak. And the process is this careful little dance. You start by sending that small percentage of traffic over. Then you watch your dashboards like a hawk. Is everything okay? Latency good? No weird errors? If all the lights are green, you gradually turn up the dial, maybe to 25%, then 50, and eventually all the way to 100. But if you see anything suspicious, rolling back is super easy. You just slide that traffic weight for the canary right back down to zero. Now, this whole strategy completely falls apart if you aren't watching your metrics. You have to have good observability. You need to be looking at the technical stuff for sure, like latency and error rates, pod restarts, CPU usage. But, and this is so important, you also have to watch the business metrics. Are people suddenly logging in less? Are they failing to complete orders? That's how you catch the really subtle, dangerous bugs.
So how do you actually do this on EC2? Well, the magic here comes from the application load balancer. It has this awesome feature called weighted target groups. You can literally just tell it, hey, send 90% of the traffic to this group of servers and the other 10% over to that group. It makes it incredibly simple. All right, so we've got the theory down for both. We know what they are, we know how they work. But now for the big question, the one that really matters. When do you use which one? Let's put them head to head.
This is a great cheat sheet. Let's run through a few scenarios. If you're working in a place like a bank, somewhere with heavy regulations, the full validation and the dead simple rollback of blue-green is often the way to go. But if you've got a high-traffic app where you're shipping code multiple times a day, Canary is going to be your best friend. If your boss is always asking about the cloud bill, Canary definitely wins on cost. And if that instant rollback is a must-have, no questions asked requirement, you're back in the blue-green camp.
And this really gets to the heart of the matter, the big trade-off you're making. Canary is way more cost-efficient because you're really just adding a couple of new servers or pods to what you already have. Blue-green, on the other hand, is arguably safer from an operational standpoint. The rollback is so clean, but that safety net has a price tag.
And that price, it's not trivial. For the whole time you're doing the deployment, which could be hours, you are running 2 full-scale production environments side by side. That means you could be temporarily doubling your infrastructure costs. That's a real number that you have to factor into your decision. Okay, this slide right here, this is absolute gold for any system design interview. When we talk about reliability, it's not so black and white. Canary is amazing because its blast radius is tiny. A bug affects very few people. But blue-green's rollback speed is truly instant. Canary absolutely requires great monitoring to work, whereas blue-green is less dependent on it. And because the blue-green switch is so simple, there's just less risk of human error during the process.
So let's boil all this down. How do you wrap this up into a smart, concise answer that shows you really get it? What's the senior engineer's take when the pressure is on?
This is such a crucial way to think about it. It's not about which one is more reliable in general. It's about what kind of reliability you're prioritizing. From your user's point of view, Canary is usually more reliable because they're less likely to ever see a bug. But from your ops team's perspective, blue-green can feel more reliable because the escape hatch is a single, predictable, instantaneous switch. This right here is the perfect summary. Think of it like this. Blue-green is for your big, high-stakes, maybe less frequent releases, where having that instant undo button is the most important thing in the world. Canary is built for the modern, agile world of shipping code constantly, where you want to de-risk every single small change with real-world data before it goes out to everyone. So after all of that, what's your default? Which one should you reach for first, unless you have a really, really good reason not to?
Here it is, the final answer. For most modern applications you're going to build, Canary should be your default strategy. It saves you money, and more importantly, it massively reduces the risk of a bad deployment affecting all your users. You save blue-green for the crown jewels, the critical core systems, like a payment processor or an authentication service, where doubling the infrastructure cost is a price worth paying for that ultimate safety net of an instant rollback.